In 1324, one man went on a shopping trip. He bought so much gold, gave it away so freely, that he accidentally destroyed Egypt's economy for 12 years. Historians still cannot calculate how much money he had. Every attempt to put a number on his wealth breaks the math. His name was Mansa Musa, and he was, by every measure we have, the richest human being who has ever lived. You've heard of Rockefeller. You've heard of Bezos. You've heard of Elon Musk. Forget them. At the peak of his power, Mansa Musa controlled more than half of the world's entire gold supply. Not the gold market, the actual gold, in the ground, in his vaults, in his hands. But here's what nobody tells you. He didn't hoard it. He spent it, lavishly, generously, recklessly. And in doing so, he accidentally caused one of the worst economic disasters the medieval world had ever seen, while on his way to pray. The year is 1312. The Mali Empire stretches across West Africa, from the Atlantic coast to the edge of the Sahara, bigger than Western Europe, richer than anything Europe could imagine. At its heart sits the city of Timbuktu, not the remote, forgotten place the name conjures today, but one of the most sophisticated cities on earth, a center of scholarship, trade, and Islamic learning. Libraries with hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, universities drawing students from across the known world, and at the center of all of it, Mansa Musa, the 10th Mansa, the emperor of the Mali Empire. He came to power almost by accident. He had been appointed deputy to the previous ruler, who sailed west into the Atlantic Ocean with 2,000 boats to find the edge of the world. He never came back. Mansa Musa inherited an empire. He was deeply, sincerely religious. And as a Muslim, he had one obligation above all others that wealth could not excuse him from. He had to make the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. So in 1324, Mansa Musa began to prepare for a journey. The pilgrimage that Mansa Musa organized was not a journey. It was a statement. 60,000 people. Some accounts say more. His personal retinue alone numbered 12,000 slaves, each dressed in silk and Persian brocade, each carrying a golden staff. 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold dust. A caravan stretching so far across the Sahara that those at the front could not see those at the back. He moved through West Africa, through the Sahara, through Egypt, and everywhere he went, he gave. Freely, extravagantly, without counting. He built mosques wherever he stopped, reportedly completing one every Friday. He gave gold to the poor, to scholars, to officials, to anyone who caught his eye. In Cairo, he stayed for 3 months, and for 3 months he spent. The Sultan of Egypt received him with full honors. Mansa Musa distributed so much gold in Cairo that the city's merchants, who had never seen anything like it, began to celebrate. They had no idea what was coming, because Mansa Musa hadn't just brought wealth to Cairo. He had brought so much of it that he had broken something fundamental about how money works. Here is the economic reality of what happened. Gold was money. Across the medieval world, Europe, the Middle East, North Africa, the value of gold was stable because it was scarce. You couldn't just make more of it. Mansa Musa didn't know this was a problem. He wasn't trying to cause harm. He was being generous, pious, kingly. But in 3 months in Cairo, he injected so much gold into the local economy that the supply of gold, relative to goods, exploded. When supply goes up and demand stays the same, prices rise. Merchants who had sold goods for a certain weight of gold found they needed far more gold to buy the same goods back. The purchasing power of gold collapsed. Inflation hit Egypt like a wave. Then it spread, along trade routes, through markets, across the Mediterranean. Prices across North Africa and the Middle East surged. The disruption lasted over a decade. Some historians say 12 years, others say longer. Mansa Musa, realizing what he had done on his return journey, reportedly tried to fix it. He borrowed gold back from Cairo's merchants, at interest, deliberately reducing the supply. It was one of the first recorded attempts at monetary policy in history. And it worked. Partially. But the damage had been done. One man's generosity had destabilized the economy of an entire region. Here is what the history books almost never mention. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage didn't just break Egypt's economy. It put Mali on the map. Literally. Before 1324, European cartographers drew West Africa as a blank space. Terra incognita. Unknown land, filled with speculation and myth. After Mansa Musa's pilgrimage, that changed. Word of this extraordinary emperor spread across the Islamic world, into Europe, into the courts of Spain and Portugal and France. In 1375, a Catalan mapmaker named Abraham Cresques drew the Catalan Atlas, one of the most important maps of the medieval world. In the center of West Africa, he drew a figure, a black king, seated on a golden throne, wearing a crown, holding a golden scepter and a golden orb. The caption read, "This black lord is called Musa Mali, lord of the guineas of gold. This king is the richest and most noble lord of all this region by reason of the abundance of gold." Mansa Musa had accidentally made West Africa visible to Europe. And Europe, looking at that map, began to ask, how do we get there? Some historians draw a direct line from that moment, from that map, to the Portuguese voyages of exploration that began a century later, to the age of discovery, to the routes that would eventually connect the world, and to the slave trade that would devastate the continent he ruled. Mansa Musa died around 1337. The exact date is disputed. So is almost everything else about him. The precise size of his fortune, the exact number in his caravan, the full extent of his empire. What's not disputed is this: no human being in recorded history has ever controlled a larger share of the world's wealth. Modern economists who have tried to calculate his net worth have given up. One estimate put it at $400 billion. Another said the number was simply incalculable, that there is no modern equivalent because no modern economy is structured the way his was. He didn't invest in companies. He didn't hold stocks or bonds. He owned the ground that gold came out of. The Mali Empire declined after his death. His successors were weaker. The Songhai Empire rose. Timbuktu was sacked. The gold routes shifted. Within a century of his death, the empire he had built was gone. But Mansa Musa himself, the man, the image, the legend, survived. On that Catalan map, drawn 50 years after his pilgrimage, he still sits on his throne, still holds his golden orb, still looks out at a world that could not quite believe he existed. The richest man who ever lived. A man so wealthy he broke the economy of a continent by being too generous. Subscribe to Empire Unveiled. Next week, the man who told the Holy Roman Emperor, "Pay me back, or I will withdraw my support." The emperor paid. The story of Jacob Fugger, the banker who owned God.